this meeting to order. There is a quorum present, amazingly. There are six members present. So first order of business, the approval of the minutes of 5:20.
Right.
Could I get a motion? So moved by Peter,
Second.
second by Sheila. Did anybody submit any corrections?
They were incorporated.
I sent some corrections.
All right, and they're incorporated in this draft? Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay, any other additions, corrections, or deletions from the minutes? Here are none. Well, just as a reminder, the meeting is being recorded and all votes by roll call. All members here are present that are at the meeting, so we'll go right around the room for the minutes. Greg?
Yes.
Sheila?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
And myself, yes, 6-0. Is there anybody here for public comment? I don't see anybody online or here present. First, and based on that,
What's the chat?
it's probably just the AI. But I'll look.
Or
Yeah,
just say thank you for all the effort put together in the state and school. Very well done. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
it went over pretty well, and even Greenville, although it wasn't particularly well attended, I mean, I think. For the people that were there, kind of away confused and stuff, so.
I think you said about the.
I didn't even know we
groundbreaking.
had it.
Oh, the ground, oh,
Yeah.
groundbreaking, okay,
Yeah.
Round-
He's
yeah,
talking information.
okay, all right, no,
This is under public
Right.
knowledge.
yeah, that's fine. Super. Anything else, anyone? Here none, we'll move on. Reports, subcommittee, we did meet once, to talk about, the playground equipment down at, Greenville. It was the opinion of the committee because they don't have a real plan as far as what to do as far as certification goes, the city doesn't. And other things of that nature, they weren't even sure where it was gonna be stored at that point. And certifying it would be a problem. We knew all these things. We decided not to go, so the request was for potentially for $11,000 to save the equipment. We decided not to go forward with that based on that. So just so you know, and that's the only thing that the subcommittee did. So with that said, reports, CSG.
Did everyone get a copy of the package?
I believe so.
What's that? Yeah. Just a quick update on the playground equipment at Greenville. We were able to salvage a few of the pieces for NPW. So they are going to pick up some of the more standalone pieces and they'll be over there tomorrow at 11 to grab those. For Greenville, we changed up the format of the report a little bit. It's done by phase now instead of individual projects because you're going to have a lot of similar activities for both projects. And what we'll do going forward is just identify the specific items as they relate to each individual project. State payment request 8 was paid. We assembled payment request 9 and it actually got submitted for both projects. Participated in OAC meetings with Downs and DRA. We do those every Thursday. Right now they're at the Stanton trailer and we'll be making arrangements once the trailers get installed at Greenville. We attended the Good Neighbor meetings. Those were pretty well attended. The Greenville one, I think the geologist that was there from Lorero was pretty helpful in explaining to the group what was going on. It was really good as a recap, the community members were good too, the geologist.
Negativity?
The geologist was definitely passionate about what he does and,
Like,
yeah, he's definitely like rock. And then, he had me laughing when people said, all right, enough scientific jargon. What's it going to sound like? And he just dropped a book on the floor.
Yeah.
That was the end of it. We've been working with all the staff that's been hired by the city as vendors for the projects, working with the materials testing company at Stanton. We'll be working with the materials testing company at Greenville when they're on board and needed. You know, DRA's consultants have been out at the sites to do site visits. You know, and upcoming activities, continue to review and monitor site activities. Continue to keep you guys up to date as to the potential cost impacts that are coming. I hope everyone's been receiving the weekly updates that we're sending out, and that's helpful for you guys as to the progress. You know, that the projects are making. With regards to Greenville, and it's an agenda item later in the meeting, you know, we want to discuss the groundbreaking date, and establishing that date so that, you know, everyone's included and we can, get that one moving. The entire project team has been reviewing, the utilities with the project team. You know, we had one change that we've already discussed as it relates to a switchgear revision to match, or to meet NPU's requirements, at Stanton, as well as some potential changes to water line, fire protection line, and the sewer cost at Stanton to redirect that line. Proposal requests have come out, and I'm sure you guys will be hearing more about that from DRA and Downs. If you flip the page over, it brings up the project budgets. We've condensed the budget report down to the major line items that are being charged against for the project at this point. You will note that the way we set our budgets up, it's set up in line with the state of Connecticut's Core CT software. So the categories that you see here are the actual categories that we apply for every month within Core CT. So, you know, that's why you see 22 other, that's the ineligible cost line. 20 would be the owner contingency, and they're all labeled and so on. To date at the Stanton project, we've expended $3,108,256.55. And at the Greenville project to date, $3,141,787.83. One thing to make note of on both of these projects, starting after the approvals of the most recent state payment request, the project expenditures per month have gone up quite a bit now that we're into construction. Whereas we were getting, you know, $4,000 bills from Downs, they're now $500,000 to 1.5 million. And so to try and get the rate of that reimbursement coming to the city a little quicker, we're going to go monthly on those two projects right around. And I'll get into the payment request for the Moriarty Bunkis project. Working group meetings have been completed over the past few weeks with district administration, school staff, as well as DRA's team. Just setting up all the spaces and ensuring that we're providing everything that's needed. ONG's been attending those meetings, and you know, at this point, we've now completed the design development phase. The documents have gone to ONG for pricing for the design development estimate, and estimate reconciliations have just begun. Site logistics plans are being developed by ONG. CSG is ensuring that the logistics plans align with school activities to minimize impact of construction on the schools. We're still looking into parking counts to ensure that we have enough parking while the construction's underway, as well as that first summer when the new school opens and the old one isn't demolished, where all the lots aren't ready. One UNCUS specific item. The construction team has proposed using Allen Avenue as the main access for the project. We'll be reaching out to stakeholders to see if that works for everyone. We'll start with Matt Brown, see what his feelings are, and then move on to city stakeholders. I would imagine that there must have been a reason why Allen Avenue was closed. I'm assuming that people must have been using that as a cut through and it became dangerous during the day at the UNCUS school. But if anyone has the context as to why that road closed, it could be helpful.
That's about accurate.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Been
maybe
that way for years.
maybe there's potential that it could be used as long as it's gated, but that's just a conversation we'll need to have. We're anticipating receiving grant commitment letters at the end of the legislative session, which to my understanding just ended. So our projects were on the priority list in the package that, if it wasn't signed, should be signed shortly by the governor. And then we should be in receipt of, grant commitment letters. Once we get those grant commitment letters, we can submit all of the, invoices for the costs we've incurred to date and start getting reimbursement on those projects. For anyone that wasn't at the groundbreaking ceremony, the city, and the delegation was able to get 80% reimbursement for the Uncas and Moriarty project. So that's very favorable for the city, and that was a really good thing to hear. A specific comment for Moriarty based on the schematic design estimate. The project is currently approximately $2.5 million over budget. There's many design contingencies and allowances at this phase of the project. And as the design develops, the project budget will be refined to fit within the current approved grant amount. As ONG does their estimate reconciliations, value engineering, a part of their submissions, and we'll be taking a look at those items. As it relates to Uncas, I'm not sure if everyone knows, but at one point in working with NPU, the water volume in the area was low. And what we were looking at was putting in underground storage systems to be able to have a working sprinkler system within the building. NPU and the design team were able to come up with a solution for the volume problem. However, water pressure is still an issue in that part of town. So it's looking like the design is going to require a fire pump, which will then require an emergency generator if you have a fire pump. But that isn't a big problem because we already have those everywhere at the other schools.
Not unusual.
Yeah.
2.9 on the Moriarty over budget, or 2.5?
2.5. When you flip to the next page, you'll see the exact amount. So in saying that, Moriarty's 2.5 million over budget and Uncas is $2.2 million under budget. And one of the reasons for that is we had added phasing costs to the Uncas project, and we didn't know if we would be able to build adjacent to the existing school because of the site size. Once we started looking at it, we realized we were able to do that. So, that's accounting for some of it. I have my colleague Samantha D'Agostino with me for the update for Teachers Middle School and the Huntington Central Office conversion. She's been working hand in hand with me and our project team at CSG to come up with to do all the work for the grant applications. Sam, do you want to take it?
Yeah, so for teachers, specifically, I think we're in good shape in terms of, we got the aspects approved for both of them last week at the Board of Ed meeting, so that was huge, and we received the minutes for that. But for teachers specifically, we're in pretty good shape. We have the estimates squared away. We're in the process of uploading that into the state system. And then it's just a matter of getting all of the documents kind of collected into one place and then uploaded to Core CT. So the goal for this week is to start uploading those items to Core CT, obviously not submitting yet until we make sure we have everything. And then same thing for central office. I know there's been some conversations in terms of budgets and things like that. So once we get the budget finalized and the estimate finalized, we can get that uploaded. But all the other documents for the central office are pretty similar to the teacher's documents. So those are all in pretty good shape. It's really the estimate that we need.
And just to bring everyone up to speed as it relates to the estimate for central office, we've begun working with our estimator hand in hand to start looking at the program that was developed by the NPS administrative team. Right now, the first stab at the estimate was right around 19 million. We haven't had a full reconciliation meeting with them. The first one of those will be tomorrow. We are doing everything we can to bring the cost down on that, trying to establish alteration areas versus parts of the building that won't be touched, because we only really need about 41,000 square feet of that building to facilitate the program. So we are working to cut some of that back and to look at just the spaces that are going to be altered and making sure that, you know, the scope that we have in those spaces will be what'll actually be required and trying to come up with any savings that we can along the way. One attention point for this project in specific, savings from other phases and program contingency may need to be used to increase the budget. Depending, like I said, we'll have the first in-depth review meeting tomorrow and you'll see something out from us.
Which we had planned on.
Yeah.
In all likelihood anyways.
You know, at this point, we need to get the costs within, you know, within the budget, and if we have to increase it, you know, we would come back to the committee and tell you what needed to be done. Ultimately, you know, we're not really at a phase where we can put together a whole bunch of alternates and different variations of the project, but I could see that becoming a necessity as we move forward, right? So rather than, you know, it would be just as we had all the alternates for Stanton and Greenville, when we actually go out to bid on the Huntington project, there could be a relatively large list of alternates that could be accepted just to give us budget relief as we may need it, when we get into that phase. The next slide is just a project update for the schedule. Nothing has changed to our knowledge at this point. You know, right now, Greenville and Stanton are still being shown based on the baseline GMP schedule. Uncas and Moriarty are based on the original RFP schedule, and teachers in Huntington will still need to, we're still looking at the schedules on those. The teachers one is probably more accurate right now than the Huntington one. The Huntington one, when we get a final determination of the scope that we're going to be completing in there, that'll be cleaned and buttoned up. And with that, did anyone have any questions?
What was the target for the budget for Huntington again?
So right now, when we re-benchmarked the overall project budget, it was 10.5 million. However, within that time, the estimate amount for teachers came down based on the lower size building that we would need. So, you know, when we had done the re-benchmark of the budget, we had provided an estimate for teachers. That was last summer, I believe. Since that time, in working with our estimator, you know, we had to revise the numbers because we're actually going for the grant application now. And the value did come down quite a bit as escalation smoothed out a bit. So, you know, that's and those, the savings from where we were when we re-benchmarked the budget to now are being shown within the contingency on the next page when you get to the monthly budget update. I will also mention that there is still GMP savings within the Greenville and Moriarty project that haven't been moved down into the owner contingency that we could potentially tap into as well.
6.5 million, almost 6.5 million in project contingency, you know, on the big number under 385. So we're not that far off, right?
Michael, is that contingency number that we have right now a reasonable number from CSG's perspective?
I mean, when we started the project, it was 3.5 million, so we've almost. But 6.4 million up into any of the other projects because we, like, as I said, we're holding 5% owner contingency on that as well. So, if anything, potentially what I'll be looking at, and I'm waiting for confirmation that we should receive some up tonight on the GMP alternates for Greenville and Stanton, and then once those projects have their final budgets, I would then be looking to pull money out of Greenville and Stanton, because it would just be surplus and would be way over the 5% owner contingency at that point. I think we added close to $1.5 million, $2 million back through bid savings from the bid period at Greenville and Stanton, so.
Questions? Hearing none. We shall move on.
Yes.
Mike, is there any other action that we need to take tonight?
There are two other items further on the agenda.
Yep.
That we'll be reviewing at that point. No new agenda items that weren't in the agenda that you posted
Roger that.
from us.
Okay. All right. Here. I can get this into work. He's not nice. I'm not that nice. Please don't kind of problem. All right, sir.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. We have, I don't know if you, we'll start with Uncas and Moriarty, or excuse me, Greenville and Stanton, thank you, folks. And if you go to the next slide, Mark, for both projects, construction administration supports kind of our key activities. Us and our consultant team, as Mike indicated with the OAC meetings, we're attending each of these, as well as our consultants as needed. Key things that we're working on, requests for information that are coming from the contractor, as well as shop drawing review and submittals. I'll leave the RFIs, ASIs, and PRs. I'm sure Downs will be prattling off how many we have on them, but we have some rough numbers reported there as of today. And key submittals that we've been working on, steel shop drawings, site utilities, switchgear, generator. Those were some of the kind of critical timeline requirements. Sample off to the side are architects' field observations, which will come out weekly as we attend the OAC meetings in the field. Next for Greenville and Stanton.
Jim, real quick, what's an ASI?
I'm so sorry. Acronyms everywhere. So ASI is Architect Supplemental Information. What else did we have up there?
RFI,
RFI, Request for Information.
and then the third one.
You could go back. Let's see what we have there. ASI, RFI, POs, Proposal Requests. So if there's something coming up where it looks like there might be a cost center associated, we identify a proposal request. And I'll spell those out in the future. Sorry about that. In terms of our next steps for Greenville and Stanton, hidden underneath this, this is our timeline, which all spring we've been using it for our working group meetings for Moriarty and Uncas. And we have focused on the various design areas within the buildings to get sign-offs from the administrative team. Right now, we're hitting, our last one was just last week with the Community Health Center administration and maintenance being reviewed. And going forward on the 26th, 19th is a holiday here for the district. On the 26th, we'll take that working group meeting and focus back on Greenville and Stanton, specifically to begin our FF furniture, fixtures, and equipment review. And I'll skip that acronym for you. So that's kind of our next phase for the Greenville and Stanton projects. We go to the next slide, focusing on Uncas and Moriarty. We did complete, oh, yes, sir. I'm so sorry.
Before you just move past.
Yep.
Structure, picture, and equipment. Question I have, and please don't ask me when I ask you when I say to you, you need concepts in furniture and pictures. It's just that I know I've been to a
Sure.
year and a half ago, I was at informational something where there were a couple of vendors who were talking about the non-traditional
Sure.
furniture and pictures in that they have difficulty getting in front of traditional projects, school projects, because their configuration is different than what school they're used to, or what we're used to. Any opportunity here to look at non-traditional type of furniture and fixtures?
Yeah, we will have opportunity to work with the district. The work that we've done in advance, and it's similar to what we were spending this spring on. Last year for Greenville and Stanton, we worked on basically the shell, if you will, all of the spaces. Now we're going to be focusing on the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Now, in our shell drawings, we showed an area where a desk might be or a table surface might be. We weren't descriptive in terms of what type of table it might be, what type of desk it might be. There are a wide variety of non-traditional furnishings, some of them in shape, so that they mesh together in different ways, create different opportunities. Some in configuration and form, different types of seating. So you might have a variety of seating types in a classroom space to allow children that need more movement to have availability of that type. Greg, am I missing anything that we'll be covering?
We've talked with a couple of the people that reached out to the city. And one or two of them are manufacturers, and so we're trying to track down the veracity of their claims for the quality of their furniture, so I can put it nicely. And one or two of them were dealers. So they were representing a number of furniture lines. And that the major objective in this is to get furniture that will last as long as possible and be as comfortable as possible and fit into the budget. So we will look at regional and statewide purchasing contracts, which get us the best value. And then we'll look at the smaller manufacturers to fill in specific roles. That seems to be where they fit in best. So the first step through that Jim is describing there takes the original schematic drawings, puts in furniture that is available for the district, and it checks to make sure that you have handicap accessibility and compliance with all of those rules in each one of the rooms. So we'll meet on 26th. We'll start with the first round through with the superintendent, show her representative furniture from each one of those pieces, and then start to look at what might be available outside of the mainstream. Some of the people that are reaching out to the city are straight up vendors. They are furniture dealers that are looking to get through the city over to the purchasing side of it. And when we talk to them, they said they need to get the state's vendor contract listings, because that's where we get our best price. And the state is entering this month or July 1, the regional purchasing agreements. So we'll expect to see a little bit more stability in pricing, but better than that, probably better price. They're going to collaborate with Massachusetts, the state that's buying more school furniture per person than any other state in the country. So we're seeing good pricing. I think if I get it right, we had 1.2 million in furniture and then 450 in technology.
Yeah.
And right now we're running below the 1.2 on the furniture side for fully furnished.
So the meeting on 26 is the working group when they're going to discuss that.
It's the first meeting, so it's just getting started.
There'll
It'll
be
be a-
at least two to get us through that,
Yes.
and then we will report that.
They hold those right at Kelly.
No, we do this via Zoom at 4 o'clock on
Oh.
Thursdays, and Amber has been
Yeah.
handling the distribution of the invite to that meeting, but certainly any committee members welcome if you care to sit in. I know we've had you at a few, so.
Okay,
No.
I just, before you just run over it, that
Sure.
was a question
Enough for me to understand the process then.
that I just wanted to make sure that we weren't just looking at traditional.
We have a team of interiors designers that this is their work, and they'll bring options and alternatives to the table, and from their selections. Another big piece of this is probably sometime early next fall, we'll be bringing in physical samples to some location, because it's important for people to kind of see it, feel it, sit on it, make sure it's what people expect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We go to the next, I think it is on to Uncas and Moriarty. As I said, design development documentation was delivered at the end of last month. We hope to have reconciliation between O&G and Tarbell Construction, which is our estimator, near the end of this month, early into next. In terms of the documentation, as it was for phase one, just under 300 sheets of the 30 by 42s for documentation, about 1,800 pages of specifications at this point. That'll head upwards of 2,000 by the end. But a good amount of information for the.
Do you have a print shop?
Well, a lot of this is electronic, so that's a real benefit these days. You know, it's excited electrons.
That's true.
So.
It's send them anywhere now.
But we will build upon this as we go into construction documentation, as we did in the last, and that should be ready beginning in early October through end of year for use. We go to the next, another activity within the Moriarty and Uncas project, that of regulatory submission and documentation. And again, working with the agencies here in Norwich, we're looking to get this submission schedule underway. Moriarty and Uncas listing ZBA inland wetlands CCP, which is the commission on the city plan. So we'll be looking to have those underway. Do we have any updates, Greg, from today?
The packages are just about ready to be filed, waiting for Mark, as I told him like 10 minutes ago that I need the spacing plan, so he still hasn't gotten it for me. The phasing plans, as you remember when we went through with Frank's group, you make that part of the approval process, and then that addresses material that has to come off-site or on the site. Addresses the city guidelines for that. Moriarty, we are 0.33% in excess of lot coverage for the building. So that's why you see ZBA on there. Mike and I were working earlier in the year with Deanna and the planning department, looking at the city-owned property next to it, where we have to dump some water, with the potential maybe moving a property line over.
I was gonna say, we own the park. Yeah. Move a fence.
There's 2% from both sides. If you move that line over, all of that water line is then reimbursed.
Yeah.
And if you move that line over, we then have compliance with lot coverage. So the question will be whether we can move it quickly enough to avoid a ZBA
You
here.
still have to do, you'd have to file to redo the lots though.
Right, it would be an administrative adjustment to a lot line because it's the same owner and they're both tax exempt. So it's about the simplest lot line rearrangement you can get. In the meantime, we'll make the ZBA application. We're we're comfortably within schedule for both of these. And we are fitting in pretty well right now. ZBA has a pretty packed schedule. And inland wetlands knows that we're coming. We'll get those two in, they can run ahead of ZBA for Moriarty. Then they will hold in abeyance on Moriarty till ZBA votes, and it will be the CCP. So we should be fine with those, probably done by late September, early October. At this point, they won't have any impact on the site plan that is of any importance. The site plans are well developed, and the relief we're looking for at ZBA for Moriarty is all driven, the hardship is what we need to prove, and it's all driven by the Connecticut laws that require pre-KK and one to be on the ground floor. So it makes for a pretty big footprint. And if I have it right, I think it's an R2 residential zoning.
R20.
R20, sorry. So it's a, it is a very restrictive lot coverage for me. And we knew it was coming. We tried to find a couple ways in the design to do it. And the, our civil engineer was so kind as to say if we would just make the building smaller, we wouldn't need a ZBA, and only it was that simple. So we'll update you on that. Yeah, you know, if you print the building at 80%. So we'll be in good shape with those.
Could we make it 3 stories, you know?
Yeah, the problem is you can't make the pre-KK one building any smaller. That's right. And then since they use the cafeteria, gym and everything else, so that has to be on the ground. And so it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
Not unusual, it just if the lot were a little bit bigger, we'd be fine, if not, DBA.
So after that, the last, and this is some of what we were just talking about, and on this one, Mark, if you could grab this and just slide it over there. So the design development of the space, we've been doing this since mid-year, space by space for both Uncas and Moriarty, looking at various layouts. And this is an example of the administrative suite. So this is the overall footprint at Uncas. There's the administrative suite as it fits within the building. Here it is blown up. And to the right-hand side, what we list are all the FF&E pieces for the various spots around this. The stuff that's in red is furniture, and that's what we keep reminding people. It's there just to help people understand scale of space and how it fit. But everything that's in the brown or tan, that's a built-in, and that's the shaping. So some examples of concerns that were raised. We had an opportunity to have 2 meetings with each of these user groups. So at the first meeting, there was a question regarding the SRO officer and location within the main office location and an area for that. That's been reconciled. A request to have a direct connection between the main office and the nurses suite was requested at Moriarty. We're able to accommodate that. And then additional glazing for visual connection to the main lobby. So those are just examples, but in each of these reviews, that's the type of commentary that comes from the staff, and it's been really great. Superintendent Lassard pulling together the people that can specifically speak to the various areas as we go space to space.
So where did you accommodate the SRO?
SRO is going to be in one of these locations. Also has at Moriarty at the 2nd floor level an office space as well. So some presence on the 2nd floor, but does like to be near the main entry when possible. So that concludes the work I believe that we're going to report out on Uncas and Moriarty. If you could hit the next slide, I think does get me to the end. Let's see, and it does. So I do know that we have a professional services supplement request, Mark, that we had submitted. And I don't know if that wants to be handled at new business after the reports are done.
I believe I added that as an agenda item.
Okay, we talking about the. Which one was
6?
Yeah. Yeah, Number 5, after the report.
Yeah, super. Okay, the other identified files 2 and 3 will be used then.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I run away, any questions? Comments?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. You've handed out, I think Frank, you gave everybody a copy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm actually passing the torch to the project managers. So Kyle's up first to report on Greenville.
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah. Just to introduce myself before I get started, I am Kyle Antini, project manager for the Greenville Elementary School project with Downs Construction. I'm a new face here, so hello everybody.
All right, go.
All right, so construction schedule update, what we've completed. We have completed our survey for the site limits and the temporary fencing around the site and also for the environmental site. The initial pre-blast surveys for the 500-foot radius have been completed. And we had the Norwich Public Utilities gas line relocation also completed, which was not under our scope, but it was kind of some enabling work for us. So that was handled by the city, and that's all behind us. Work in progress. We're continuing to work through procurement and submittals. So that's going to be a little bit of a process as we get all of our contractors under contract and we get all that information over to DRA for their reviews and approvals. But that's in process, of course. Clearing and grubbing of the site. Any of you have gone by there recently? I'm sure it looks very different than it did a couple weeks ago. Almost all the trees are down at this point. They're mulching all the trunks up, grubbing all the branches, the roots, getting things out of the way there. So that's in progress, progressing very well. Temp fence installation is ongoing. So we won't be able to get everything enclosed until we get all the grubbing or all the clearing done and then some of the blasting where there's on the site limits, just some tricky kind of topography where you can't get a fence in just yet. But we are installing that where we can. We have had a few incidents with residents around, so it's trying to secure our site best as we possibly can to limit any people maybe wandering onto the site by accident or on purpose. So that's in progress as well. We are prepping for some of the modular block wall installation. Part of that is the submittal process, getting the shop drawings submitted and approved, and the design aspect of it done, because it does have to be certified by an engineer from the contractor. And then the clearing obviously is part of that, but we're looking to advance some of this work if we can for some of the block walls, maybe concurrently with some of the blasting. So we're still talking with Lorero on some of the logistics of that, the site work contractor, but we are hoping to get some of that done, listed as a work in progress item right now. And then the additional pre-blast surveys for the additional 1,000 feet from the original documents and the original bid, that is in progress as well. Seems to be going pretty well. I have information as of this past Friday, the 13th, that there have been 106 surveys requested.
In total or just from the?
For the
extra
additional,
for the
in
additional?
the extra 1,000. And 98 of those have been performed as of this past Friday. So I know there was a date, I think it was the 15th, where they have noted on the letters to the residents that they were requesting a response by the 15th for any surveys. So that information was as of the 13th. I'm not sure if they got any more requests. I hadn't heard anything back on that yet, based on the 15th date. So a little bit maybe gray area right now. If they've gotten a whole handful of new requests, I'm not quite sure.
How
But
many was it again?
106 were requested as of 13.
That's for the whole.
In the additional 1,000 foot. So
Okay.
this, the initial, the 500 feet, I believe it was a number between 60 and 70. I don't have that exact number with me right now.
And 106.
And then there were 106 in that additional 1,000 foot radius that have been requested.
Thank you.
So all things considered, we didn't get as many requests as the worst case scenario could have been.
When you getting the trailer in?
The trailer actually arrived yesterday and today, so it's there. They're still working on just the connection and because it's two trailers connected to each other, so it's a work in progress, but it is there. It's
Okay.
there now.
I'm just thinking in terms of security, though, maybe
Yep.
having camera.
Yes, we do have to get the cameras up as well. Yep.
Alright.
They ran a conduit from the pole to the trailer location for the power. So Dyson's on site, the electrical contractor, and we're getting them involved, getting everything logistically set up as well.
Okay.
And then work to start. So MEP coordination, MEP mechanical, electrical, plumbing. That is a long process where the building is modeled and we make sure all the pipes, the ductwork, everything doesn't clash with each other. It all has its own space to run and operate.
We hope.
We hope. There's always clashes during the process.
Yeah.
By the time we're done, it all works.
Yeah.
And also with the structure, steel beams, everything. So that, we have a kickoff meeting on Monday. So that's going to start on Monday with our subcontractors. As I mentioned, we're hoping to start some modular block wall installation when the time comes for that, hopefully concurrently with some of the blasting. And the construction office trailer did arrive this week, so that's on site at this point.
You have some photos of that too, right?
Yeah, there is a set of photos that we can look through.
You wanna go over the schedule first?
Sure. This is the updated master schedule from the bid. So what this shows current progress, and we also added in the additional 1,000-foot radius blasting. So worst case scenario from the contractor was August 8th to complete all the surveys. It's looking like we're ahead of that based on all the information we've received. So this schedule reflects that worst case scenario. We are anticipating a potential first date for blasting as July 7th. So we're almost a month ahead of that worst case scenario, just based on what surveys people request, because not everybody requests one. So once the additional surveys are done, we will update this to the actual completion date, but we did want to forecast the potential worst case scenario. And that's what this reflects. So, other than just the general progress of site clearing, logistics, that's really the big update on this schedule for Greenville at this point. Any questions on any of that before we look at some pretty pictures?
Just when you said residents visiting the site, was you mean adults or kids?
There was an adult who came on the site,
Do we have any kids visiting?
but I haven't heard of kids getting on the site, but they are very curious. I mean, I was there today and, they walk right up to the fence, right where the gate is, and they look in, they look around, ride their bikes right up to it. So security is definitely something that we have to keep a close eye on. We get the cameras installed, we get all of our fencing up. It'll help tremendously, but right now,
I had emailed Mike Fayence because they have those kids over there that have the off-road bikes in Greenville and ATVs.
Yes.
And
That
I
was
saw
like
it
a fun
right
sight
last
for
week,
one.
right on the sidewalk, and I'm like, they'd be just the ones who would go up there and go through
Yeah.
that opening and
Great.
have a ball with themselves,
Oh, yeah.
so.
Yeah.
The police definitely have
So
to have.
we're very aware of those situations and we're keeping our eyes out,
Yeah.
trying to get our sites secured as quick as we can.
And did the Greenville look something?
Yep. I think the pictures were.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next one.
Well, that's our trailer right there. In progress. This is where the conduit runs out to the pole this way. And a double wide trailer here, so. That's there. Getting ourselves set up on site. Well, Golden Street, the entrance is like right here, it's just off the screen. That's conduit coming from the pole right here, running up towards the trailer location for our temporary power setup. This is a look out onto the site from pretty much the Golden Street entrance trailer area. Looking up the hill a little bit, as you can see, there's not much left over there. A lot of stuff piled up, getting ready to get mulched down. Another look back down the hill. We've got these big piles of mulched up wood right there. So they're working their way around the site.
That's a pile?
Oh, yeah.
That's not a hill.
Pile
That's a pile.
of trees.
Hey, that's the bottom pile, Stanton.
It looks like it. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
And then this is along the perimeter. This is our fence, erosion and sedimentation controls along the perimeter of the site. So that's in progress.
Rush.
Another look at that, just a different area of the site. Yep. And another look out into the site.
So is the back road from Boswell all accessible now? Is it cleared?
There's a path to the road.
Oh, I know.
But we have it all fenced off. It's
It's
not,
all-
yeah, it's not accessible per se unless we open the fence up. Another look at the silt fence on the perimeter. And then that's the playground equipment. It's a little file that got removed from the site as well. That might have been the last one there.
Yep.
Any questions or comments? Thank you.
So they're keeping, Public Works is picking up.
It's certified, if you put it back in, since it's.
Yeah, that's. Beside
It's a
mine,
liability.
and there's no really set. process.
No. No one certified.
Usually.
Yes.
Nice.
It's very significant. With the specs, when it's.
Go for it.
Okay, thank you. It's my first time visiting your meeting. My name is Chris Shadrew. I'll be the project manager at the Stanton Elementary School project. And just to run you through the activities, a construction update, the items completed. We did have a good neighbor policy meeting at the school. It was a small quiet group, but we did reach out to the neighbors and let them know what construction activities would be starting. I think the neighbors that showed were appreciative of that. We basically got our enabling activities complete over the last month. Our field office trailer has been set up and energized. CSG's modular office is also on site. Erosion control, sedimentation control, fencing has all been installed. We completed the tree clearing and grubbing and stripped all the topsoil. There's a significant amount of topsoil at the Stanton Elementary School. You'll see it stockpiled up at the road next to the one.
I'll be down with the truck.
The tennis courts. So you'll see that pile.
No one come to the truck, please, there's no one to flood.
I wish.
Somebody will be out there on video.
So once the topsoil was stripped, that allowed us to start prepping for our foundations. The geotechnical engineer has been on site a couple of times to review soil conditions, verify bottom of excavation for footing. And now we started prepping footing, removing about 1.5 feet, maybe even 2 feet of an unsuitable soil, replacing it with structural fill. And then all the footings have a layer of 6 inches of crushed stone on them. We poured a couple of concrete footings over the last week. And that's basically what's going to be happening over the next month is a lot of the same thing, continuing to prep footing, place footing, concrete crew will step back and start forming up concrete walls and pouring walls. I believe we have our first concrete wall pour scheduled for tomorrow morning, and that activity will just continue to repeat itself. We anticipate pouring concrete twice a week, maybe 3 times a week over the next 4 weeks.
Building forms the rest of the time.
So that's been moving along. Work to continue is just some of the same in regards to the foundation. And we do plan on starting utilities. The school is out, so we kind of took over the site a little bit in terms of the summer logistics plan. In the existing entrance, there's all new services that come in there. We started with the water. There's a gas line, the main electrical primary service, the communication line, all runs up through that new existing entrance drive, and that'll be starting this week. We started saw cutting, and the water will happen, if not by this Friday, on Monday. Any questions on construction activities? Any photos to share? We also did start a coordination process that Kyle mentioned with our subcontractors. Had 2 or 3 meetings with them, with subcontractors are coordinating. We're almost through area A.
Switchgear stuff.
Switchgear has been ordered. Switchgear has been released. We have coordinated with NPU to confirm the proper desirable metering configuration. There's a couple of meetings on that, and that gear has been released. It is 1 week. Looks like it's snowing.
I think it's that one.
So that's area A. The building is kind of divided into 3 areas. We're building it in sequence of A to B to C. With foundation, steel erection will follow. Everything will follow in that same flow. That's the inside of area A, the interior footing, pure footings formed. The concrete footings, reinforcing steel in them that I mentioned. That form is empty, about to be filled, and then in the foreground or the background there, you can see a concrete footing already placed in strip. Same area, looking back at the school. We don't have much of a view, but the Greenville project, we're kind of flat. We've got a great view of the back of the school, but much easier site to maneuver around in. Close up of same activity, reinforcing steel getting placed. I think we're seeing a compaction. That might have been the day that the geotech was on site. You go back to that photo, she was witnessing a backfill operation there where this is the existing soil, and you can see we're putting in a couple of feet of a structural fill, and she watches that operation, and it's just the technique that's being used. I'm not sure what happened there. There you go. So there's a footing prepped, excavated out, and then brought back up with either structural fill or a combination of fill, and then topped with crushed stone.
I'll take you to compact that.
The structural fill gets compacted to at least 95% compaction, but crushed stone does not get. It just gets compacted. It doesn't get tested to a density test. I guess that's it. Any other questions?
Schedule update, there's no changes to the schedule.
There is no change to the schedule. We're a couple of days early on starting our foundations. We started on June 2nd. I believe the original milestone schedule at June 4th. The next big milestone date is to begin structural steel erection on August 7th. Hoping to beat that date by a week, but August 7th is the next big milestone date. Super.
Anything else from Don? You got us covered? Reconstruction.
Great, just quickly, just want to make a new introduction here. Dan Hessler with our pre-construction manager that's been working on the project for the next few months. You might have heard that Laurel Purcell is taking a leave in Baptist. We do expect her back soon, but she's gonna be away from the project for a little bit, and then Dan's gonna be taking over here, so. With that, let Dan introduce himself.
Yep, I took the baton from Laurel. So thank you, Mark, and how do you do? My name is Dan Hetzler, and I'm a pre-construction guy as well as I've been a field PM for some years with ONJ. I handed out my update for what was Council Photo last month and some look ahead items. I'm not sure if you want to, it's really, I'll be brief in order to move this along. Already mentioned by Mike was the design development documents have been issued. We've taken them into our house. Our estimating team is hard at work at those. I've engaged our BIM model VDC manager, Nick, as well as Joe Fucci, our MEP coordinator. They're going through the documents as well as I. Let's see, I've been out to Uncas site again. Chris Rizzi out there, the project superintendent. We're looking heavily into the Uncas site as far as what is the best sequence of operations and the phasing plan that was also mentioned earlier. There's a lot to the Uncas site with the condition of the soil. As I've looked at that site in more detail, there's actually now 5 phases of what I'm going to deliver for the site work package in the scope of work. Also touched on in the geotech report, you have a lot of bad soil on that site. It's going to be one of the more challenging aspects of getting into the property and doing the work. So I am looking ahead to see if there is, I want to put together a phase 1 enabling package. That would be an early package to release to the state. Got to coordinate that with the rest of the team on DRA side and then with CSG as well. So in my court is developing these site phasing plans and the site logistics plans.
You talking about bringing in a lot of fill or is that?
There's going to be replacement fill. I mean, the overall site balance is the information I'm getting from our site estimators is project is a mass export. But a big part of that export is the bad soil that's on the property. So when I look to the early enabling phase, it's really to try to capture the time of work that we would have while the ground is still frozen or in the winter months to prepare that site and be ready for an April import. We do have I can't give you a quantity today, but there's a large amount of structural fill. The good looking stuff that Downs is sharing with you, that's got to be brought back into the site to bring the site to the elevation. Uncas also has high water table. So by getting into the property earlier, we have the opportunity that the water table is slightly lower and that we can get those excavations done and be prepared for import as soon as you hit a phase 2 contract. So that's what's really been going on. The document study is really what's been going on since my involvement, getting up to speed with where Laurel passed the baton to me. Looking ahead, a couple of things I wanted to mention. We did already hear that we have a reconciliation meeting scheduled for June 27th. That's the first step in the process of comparing our estimate to the DRA estimate, and then to look through where the discrepancies are, get together with a number. The goal is to put that together for the end of, for the July 3rd date, and then it gets to this committee ahead of the next building committee meeting, July 15th. Let's see, I touched on, I wanted to emphasize the importance of accessing the site from the Allen Avenue side. That is, that's a primary access point. It's a great access point. There's there's the ability to separate contractor from student population, parent drop-off population. So the quicker we can move that process forward and get that information, that gives me the ability to finalize the logistical plans. I touched on my early phase, enabling phase. I think Mike took lead. I appreciate that, and finding out what that parking stall count is. Again, we have as part of each phase of development of the documents, we need to know exactly how many parking stalls to try to accommodate, and then to work with DRA to firm up that plan. So last two items are just to complete the logistics plan and then to continue to update this pre-construction schedule. So the pre-construction schedule that Lowell prepared for you last month is just been updated with new information. If I was to flip through that document with you, the first page, at the bottom of the page, this section has been updated. I don't feel a enabling phase is necessary on the Moriarty site. It just doesn't require early enabling and, to buy out the packages simultaneously. On both the primary phase 2 site work package, I think works better in this scenario where the phase 1 happens at Uncas and then you have phase 2 on both properties. So I've removed Moriarty from that section. I've updated the timeline. In developing the timelines, I did move the development of documents forward or earlier in time by about a month. And that ensures that we'll be up to OGA, back with approvals, out to the street and awarding and hitting the street and then awarding in order to hit a start of construction date around December 17th. Let's see if I get to the next page, I made some notes as to what I have updated. I moved the PLA agreement document forward again to align with being signed, sealed, and delivered ahead of the going out the bid for that enabling phase. Let's see, there's no change to the rest of that page. There's no change to page 4, except I did highlight in my own mind the same comment made earlier about getting into inland wetland approval. And then for us, it's only because it triggers the stormwater permit application or registration, which does also have a time tag. And we want to make sure that we don't have an impact to the start of construction in December due to the 60-day review period for them. And then there's no changes on page 4 or 5. So all the latter activities have all stayed the same. Any questions as to what we're doing out there? Not as exciting as the photos. I happen to enjoy the photos. It looks like a nice and neat coordinated site. Congratulations.
What exactly is happening in this one? You said construction.
Oh, so yes, if
I'm just trying to ready myself at Moriarty.
that's all. At Moriarty, nothing. If we had the enabling phase would be at the Uncas property only. And so Moriarty doesn't start until Moriarty starts proper April 1st, April 2nd.
The first thing I look at, date construction starts.
Yes, thank you. That's all.
Is the potential additional cost associated with soil reflected in the estimates?
The estimators will be carrying some cost. When you say the estimate, in the estimates that are under development.
We have for the project.
Yeah, we'll be carrying those costs for that.
Right, so as we update
And
estimates,
if you want to know if there are like costs,
No, I'm asking if there's additional costs.
Yeah.
That we haven't seen it. So,
right,
I would have to follow up to find out what was in the first estimate that you're referring to. Yeah, I don't think the geotech report, I don't know when that first
I don't
estimate.
believe the geotech report was available for the schematic designs.
Right, the
Came out
geo.
after, so Carvel wouldn't have had geotech quantities at the time of the schematic design of the estimate. So it will be in the design development estimate. Well, the good news is that August was $2.5 million of the
Right.
budget from the beginning. So,
Let's figure that.
Any questions?
You got my.
Yeah,
Really?
good enough. All right. All right, I guess Jim, this would you be number 5, discussion of possible action, geotech monitoring for Greenville. Yes, that's B006. Yeah.
Item 2 from that packet.
This is something I had a little start to.
Item three. Grab two first.
Oh, grab two.
Shared with the committee.
No, I'm gonna do that. I think we sent that out.
Okay.
We sent it, yeah. no,
Perfect.
we sent- You guys all got this as part of the invoice package and stuff too.
We got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we got a lot
Yep.
of stuff there.
So, this is,
Any question?
yeah, might as well zoom in. I'll take the top half of this first.
Plus.
Plus,
Oh,
this-
there we go. Highly technical.
there we go. That should be. Just scroll down a little bit. I want to focus on the background. Okay, that's good. Hold there. So, what we wanted to share with you this evening, this is a professional supplemental services request. What it has to do is with the additional geotechnical work and geotechnical review activities that will be in the field necessary to be performed. The activities are generally regarding submittal RFI CO reviews, geotechnical consultation. Once the rock faces are exposed, there will be questions as to how to handle and a geotechnical engineer necessary to deal with that. SLR, our consultant, who is the geotech, CSG and our team, we explored alternate approaches for the delivery of this, questioning if because this became known as we got to the end of the construction documentation phase, so prior to the holidays last year, we wanted to explore, is it possible to assign it to the CM contract in some way, have the service delivered effectively? Ultimately, given the familiarity and the knowledge of the site, it was felt that the design consultant was probably the best to be able to deliver the scope. If we go down to the next bracket here in terms of the actual proposed fees. So in about January of last year, we did receive a professional services proposal from SLR. Order of magnitude was $385,000. With markups, it would take it over 400. And under review by our team, CSG, and I'll allow Mike to weigh in as he cares, and conversations with SLR, we felt that we still had time to go, and with more information received, we might be able to make a better assessment of what are the actual costs. So we held off for the additional project info that came forward through the bidding process, the full bidding process, and RFIs that were asked through that process, as well as the schedule that was ultimately developed by Downs relative to what would be the blasting time period, et cetera. With that information in hand, SLR was asked to restate their anticipated costs for this on-site geotechnical services. This resulted in PSS 6 was in the amount of 128,000, which is 147 with project markup. Obviously a significant reduction from where we were that came from the better understanding that came through the bid process, the scheduling, et cetera. One note, our base contract services through CSG's format, we have an allowance of approximately $40,000 for geotech on-site consultant services. That still is held in abeyance. We're not tapping that. But should it not be needed as we go forward, that would be money that would be able to flow back to the project. So I just wanted to use this as an overview so that you could read it in advance. Hopefully some of you spotted it, but to try to give an overview of it. We do have the PSS form on the item 3 there, which basically restates this as we would as part of the contract document to be executed. But it basically takes that explanation narrative and identifies it in a format that yields the proposed PSS. And so with that, I'll pause. See if there are any questions for us, and open also if Mike needs any time to weigh in.
I think you described it pretty well, Jim. You know, initially when we were looking at this, just like as Jim said, we were waiting for as much information as we could get to get the best price, knowing that, you know, the blasting wasn't going to start immediately and we wouldn't need these geotech services until it did. So I think holding off a little bit was favorable to the city and the project, and you know, I think the result of
A couple $100,000 worth of.
you know, the other thing to note is that I believe this is a not to exceed, right, Jim, based on visits.
Their proposal is lump sum, yeah,
Yeah.
not to exceed.
Yeah,
They will
not
go
to
against it.
Based on visits that they come, so. You know, we do have a sign-in sheet in the trailer. Every time that they come, they record that they've been there, and then we're reviewing the billing and everything similar as we would with the materials testing front.
And our geotechnical consultant has actually, in advance of any of this, been out on the site to help facilitate some of the early requests for site observation. Downs mentioned in their report. Marie has been out to the site observing bottom of footings, et cetera, and lifts that were being developed across the site. Yes.
So the question I have is because you said you're gonna keep the 40,000 as part of contingency. What, part of allowance? What additional geotech do you anticipate, or should we anticipate in Draymond? Make sure I'm asking the question right. May we anticipate on the Greenville site?
So in speaking with the geotechnical engineer, it really comes down to the nature of the rock once it's cut. You know, when they cut the rock, if we get nice, clear facings, that's pretty straightforward to deal with. If what we end up with are facings of rock that are interspersed with kind of veins of other materials, questions will come to the table in terms of what's the best way to deal with this, you know. Sometimes that will mean just leaving it in place as it is. Sometimes it may mean additional kind of screening. Other times it may mean using concrete to actually infill. There's going to be a variance in terms of what the response is once the rock is cut.
Right, because if they do discover veins, that means it could come up, right? If
Not
it's
necessarily.
solid,
I don't want to.
depends on what kind of stone it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to care. I mean, we have a pretty good understanding based on the work that they did with the various drilling and boring of what's the composition they expect. That said, when they actually make the cut in the face that they do it, that can vary slightly. So it's not so much a question of anticipation that it will fail or come apart, but you know, what's the best face to leave as we go forward?
So basically, because the site is geographic, topography challenge, let's just say. It's the map did, I mean, there's a potential for other needs, basically.
Yes. I mean, sure, the allowance it was there at the outset for the base contract with that in mind. When SLR gave us this proposal, both CSG and our team asked the same question in different meetings, which was, have you included your base geotech review as part of this? And the answer was yes. So that meant what we had in allowance basically still sat outside of this and was available.
And just to follow up is anticipating when they're gonna start cutting.
Mhm.
Do we know when?
Yes, you guys were mentioning that it may start as soon as the 7th of July.
July 7th.
Yep, and approximately a 60-day schedule of last
Days of blast.
Yes, so 2 months.
Thank you.
We'll know a lot
3
more
months.
in that time.
They won't let us
16
do
working
actually
days.
close stuff up.
I haven't done.
All right.
Thank you.
Anyway,
You got another question?
What's the contingency?
The contingency? It's in the packet. Right now, the only contingency is Greenville is $4,810,426.31, which is well over the 5% that we started with, because all of the budget savings from the GMP saved well. The GMP savings from the CDS and it went back into the owner contingency when we approved the GMP. So go to the second page, please.
it's okay, just listen. Any other questions? Motion to approve it is for to authorize it. Hmm?
Need a motion?
I need a motion.
If I say so moved.
So moved, yeah, that we can take. I
Okay,
can
so
take that.
moved.
So
Greg.
moved by Greg,
I'll second.
second by Sheila. Do we, do we approve PSS G006? Any other discussion?
For the amount up to 147.
Yeah, for up to, 147,000
And
200.
and 200.
As
Put
written.
my glasses on.
147,200.
As submitted.
That's my motion.
Good.
I second.
She seconded.
She seconded. Right. No and no other discussion? Here and none?
Yes.
Greg? Sheila,
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Said yes. Peter? Yes.
I'm sorry,
Christine?
yes.
Myself, yes, 6-0. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Groundbreaking for Greenville. Right?
Yeah, so. Should be relatively simple, would have been, I wish there had been a few more members here than there. Potentially wanted to get their feedback in, but I'll make note of the folks that aren't here and reach out to them after this meeting, try and. Firm up a date for that. Downs have proposed the week of June 26th to do the groundbreaking at Greenville. That date was given to us at the last OAC meeting this past Thursday, June 26th to the 28th. I don't think we really need to be tied to any particular date. I think potentially doing it before July 7 could be good. Did anything change from down standpoint from the dates that you guys have given out this week?
We're gonna be on Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah, you said the 26th.
the 26th and 28th, I believe, what was in second check that though. Definitely not a Saturday. Soon, if I get a little better attendance, we do it during the week. Yeah, that could be chaotic here at the year.
We need to accommodate.
We'll accommodate them. I think with the proposal should, we need to accommodate them. There was a request made that the former, the last acting Greenville principal be in attendance and a speaker as part of the ceremony.
Yeah.
So we'll accommodate that, and I believe there was one,
Back in your door.
there was another individual,
You're not doing.
No, yeah.
was that's the former principal?
Yeah, back in your door.
And then there was another individual. I think.
Definitely, who's currently, she taught
Oh.
almost her whole life.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she
so.
still lived in Greenville.
I think it'll be a little easier for us to schedule with Kathy and
Yeah, the
Ralph.
session's over.
Session's over, so. You know, the real question becomes if anyone has a particular opinion as to what day the ceremony should be on.
What day are you talking right now?
Whatever day the committee elects to do it on.
Oh, is the 25th too early?
25th is next Wednesday.
Next week, sorry.
Yeah,
So,
that's not an issue. But
you wanna do,
that'd be cutting the planning pretty close. I'm
Yeah.
thinking
The following week, but before, earlier in the week.
yeah,
Friday, July 4th. Anyone open?
No, July, like,
because it's the 4th of July is Friday, so.
July first, which would be
Yeah.
the Tuesday.
We're gonna need a rain date, right? Since there's no way to go indoors.
Yeah,
The observation.
a rain date would be good, and
Then
then
June 30th, then July 1st is the rain date. Monday or Tuesday,
June 30th and then July 1st.
well, it gives you a rain date.
Yeah.
Sue, how does that sound?
What was the date, sir?
30th with a rain date July 1st, it's a Monday or Tuesday.
Sounds good to me. I'll make it work.
So it's either a Monday.
Monday or Tuesday.
Monday is the
Yeah.
thirtieth
Monday the 30th.
or
Or
July
July 1st.
first,
Yeah, yeah.
afternoon preferable.
Yeah,
But now when you say afternoon, what time?
Two?
Exactly.
is 2 be okay?
2 p.m. on June 30th?
Well, we ran into this problem with, there are people who work.
Mhm.
And,
You still have that issue.
right, I mean, that's,
The ones that are out of school or.
well, yeah, but I'm not, yeah, but there are other people
Yeah.
who. I mean, bring it later in the afternoon. I think, did that allow more people to come?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, what time would be exactly?
Do 4?
4?
Yeah, you might wanna, right, I mean, put out like you did before to the committee and see if 4 o'clock would allow most people to come.
Okay.
You know, just because that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna go to the group that isn't here tonight. It's.
Yeah. Well, no, hold.
Stacy has
He's, the principal.
Oh, I didn't think it was-
Yeah.
I thought it was. It's not. So he should be up to 7.
He's been working, we did a Zoom with him, work.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we'll
With a certain type.
we'll put out, for now, we'll get the meeting
Yeah,
scheduled.
send a note out to everyone.
And tentatively, we'll go with June 30th and July 1st is the rain date at 4 P.M.
Rather that.
Let me know, because I'll have Yulitza start again with the whole process of getting everything together.
Roger.
Yeah.
Okay. Consider that dealt with. We'll get it locked down the next day or so. Add alternate acceptance, Greenville and Stanton. All right, we gotta make a decision, decisions. Making this, who we got?
There's a sheet on there for everyone to look at real quick that we put together. We kind of reached out to everyone as it related to the alternate. 617. Yeah, and then alternates, pros, cons.
Here we go.
So what, you should be able to blow it up because I made it a PDF, but basically what we did is we put the default 4 alternates in there and then reached out to the design team as well as the construction team from Downs to come up with a list of pros and cons. I think it may be best to start with the telescoping bleachers. So some of the things that we came up with for the telescoping bleachers were more fixed seating. It was educationally desirable at both schools to have the extra tiers of bleachers, as those auditoriums are going to be used as the main presentation space. Those gymnasiums will be used as the main presentation space for, big functions, such as plays and music events and whatnot. So it was desirable from the school's standpoint to have, it basically almost doubles the seating, adds 3 more rows of seating to the gymnasium, and it will give the schools more seating within that gymnasium.
So what are telescoping bleachers, just movable or?
So they fold into the wall.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect, wrong.
Yeah.
I believe these ones were electric.
That's what yeah, it's power.
Yeah, they're powered, yes.
Yeah.
I move to adopt the
Quick, quick.
telescoping bleachers.
Second,
Second by Sheila, motion by Peter. Any discussion on the motion?
How many would they hold?
Oh, boy, you're going back.
Real good.
You're
That's-
going
that's an actual question.
you're going back once, because we did an analysis on that. I would have to, I'd turn to Greg
400?
and Jim on that.
400. For the length of it.
But
You're at 500?
how many people does that hold?
Oh, how many people?
Yeah.
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 Couple hundred.
What?
Under a couple hundred.
Yeah, it was,
It takes what's probably about 130 and
Yeah.
140 and.
yeah. It's 350 to 375 maybe. Probably more. We ran an analysis too based on, I'll let you go with this one because my memory is very fuzzy.
The seating, the advantage, and it is something we acted on with Greenville and Stanton. The advantage is they could quickly open these and get a large group of kids seated. When they do have events that exceed that, and there will be, where you get out to the 500 or 600 range, there is stacking seating that will be brought in place. So we have storage for individual seating in the nearby area as well.
Anything else? Any other questions? No, that was it. All right. Here and none, all in favor? Craig?
Yes.
Sheila?
yes.
Cindy? Peter? Yes. Christine? Myself, yes, 6-0 in favor.
The next one is for a digital message center with all the associated controllers and control software, power runs. There's 2 of these digital signs at Stanton, 1 at Greenville, which is why the price is higher at Stanton. It's different bidders, so that's why you don't. And these are approximate figures. Downs is still working out the finalized costs on these. It's my understanding that as they're just double checking the cost to ensure that everything was included by the trade contractors that bid on this. So, the pros of it is that it's digital. We've heard through all the programming meetings that changing the little plastic letters and the message that's on there is problematic for some of the school staff. It is nice that you can modify the message remotely from the main office. There's no messaging capability on the base bid sign design, so you would gain that, but the initial cost of these things is somewhat high. long-term maintenance on these things can become problematic, for anyone that has owned them or driven by a place that has them.
Yeah, we got it.
Technical issues can arise that are usually quite costly to repair. You're typically looking, in our experience, at, a message center that needs to be repaired by an authorized vendor that can do.
Your warranty, what's the?
Well, that's the whole thing. The contract that you have with the company is the issue. Because as I said before, when we discussed this Norwich check, it was a huge headache
Well,
from day one, but we're already talking
the construction
16,
project,
17 years.
yeah, the construction project wouldn't enter into a maintenance contract for it. You'd be provided with whatever material
Right.
warranty
As it
is
was,
provided by whichever sign you end up getting, as well as a 1 year. Actually, Downs does 18 months for a contractor warranty for workmanship.
yeah,
So, you'd have at least 18 months of warranty.
there were a lot of glitches,
I thought that,
Is it operational now? Does it still work?
yeah, it still works. That, and no, it's,
It is, okay.
but my question, because the only one I can think of in my head right now that we have, is that the Rose City, Rose City Senior Center. And
That's just a message.
isn't that what this is?
Well, they're different now. You could, with these, graphics and all that,
and they have to use it,
No, okay, I'm just trying to say is, did we ask with the message board that's right now in operation, that's the only one that I can come up with at the Rose City Senior Center, since it's been installed, what issues, are you facing? The issues on the right side of the cons, because that wasn't installed.
Different. Yeah, that's a different kind of. Than what we're talking about.
But that's the state here, that's the
Three Rivers.
it has it.
They have, like when we had it, put it in
I'm sorry.
Norwich, so
Have we in the design?
Three Rivers
Yeah.
has one, but whether it's the same as
The
this.
same thing. In the design,
It's higher.
we're installing the infrastructure, we wanted to install these right here. I don't think.
Yeah, so a proposal request was issued by the design team this week to get the cost to just run the infrastructure, meaning the conduit, pull strings. And then if you were to add this in the future, the conduit is there, and if you were to get it in the future, or if the sign changed, you would have the infrastructure there to add it later on.
So if we were.
But that's gonna be a cost that'll have to be approved. It wasn't included as part of the base project because we had this alternate. So the way it was looked at was that you would either accept the full thing with the digital signs, the conduit and everything. And if you decided not to accept the digital sign alternate, then we would entertain proposal request number 4, which gives you the infrastructure needed to install a sign like this in the future.
And so, if we were to install the infrastructure
Yes.
for the future. Putting the signs in, the $250,000, so spending that money, we could decide that much later. Right?
Yes.
So,
Well,
what's that?
you could, but,
It's expensive.
yeah. it's still-
You're not gonna be locked into this
Yeah.
price. These prices will only
I
need.
understand that.
Yeah, okay.
I understand, I'm just looking at the
Yeah.
costs. Versus that we have the capability is gonna be there to.
Well,
install
the
this without-
capability will be there if you accept whatever the cost is
In the
to. When we get the cost, yes.
Is this part of reimbursable or is this out of the city side? Is this non-reimbursable or is it?
It should be reimbursable. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be reimbursable.
Well, then if you added it later, it's not gonna
It's
be.
not reimbursable.
Well, it depends when you add it later. If we decide just before the parking lot's finished, or just after the new building opens, hey, when they come back to finish the site improvements at the school, we want to add the sign back in. If the project was still going on,
Okay,
it would be reimbursed. Now, if you wait until,
the projects.
I think September 2027.
Years.
Yeah, after the project's completed, then there would be no reimbursement at that point, because the project's finished.
Close.
So, because you said Stanton wants two, Greenville is getting one, but the cost for Stanton is, for the two of them, it's more than double.
Yes,
It's farther away, but part of the problem is the run's a lot farther.
Right, that's.
that would be a question for DRA, as to why there's, it's probably one for each side.
I'm gonna guess that because the run is so much farther for Stanton, that would be resulting in increased
With
cost.
Stanton, there's two issues. One is the distance to the roadway is significantly
That's long.
different than it is at Greenville.
Yep.
The other is Greenville is single-sided.
Oh,
Whereas
okay,
Stanton actually, because.
Oh, that's what the cost too.
because you can, that's right, I'm sorry, it's not two signs, two displays on one foundation, I'm sorry. I forgot
Plus,
that.
depending on how
That makes sense.
the.
You see it from either side. You see it from either side of them.
To be.
Yeah.
One unit with two displays.
Yes,
Both sides.
It's
Does
the.
have to be.
No,
It's
it's
two
still-
units mounted to one thing.
One
That's
foundation.
what it is.
you, if this was the wall that it was attached to, you'd have one on this side and one on this side. So if you're driving from this way, you can see the sign, and if you're driving from this way, you can see it.
Plus the con, so it's.
But they
It's one
consider it
structure,
two units.
face.
One structure, two faces, front and rear.
Let's, if we're gonna have it like at Norwich Techs, it has beautiful stonework around it. And, you know, it depends on if you're gonna keep the, you know, use the brickwork or whatever that's in the building as, or are you just sticking the sign up with a base? I mean, because that comes into it too, right?
In
No,
my,
it's like-
in my capacity, I
Plus
wasn't
of something.
part of the design of it, so I can't really
Yeah,
answer the exact material. Jim looks like he can.
In the document as an alternate, it does have a stone base to it, but it is a metal, basically rectilinear box.
so just a stone base.
That's Stanton, as I said, that rectilinear box has a sign on both sides, so it addresses the roadway traffic.
Yeah, you only need one side.
At Greenville.
Oh, yeah, there's no way,
There's
no,
no
I
way.
understand that.
It's a single way.
Yeah.
It's space.
No, I understand. Working with that narrow.
I know if we table this and still go for 26.
Well, so here's the problem with tabling it until 27. As part of the bid packages for Downs, the alternates are only held open for 90 days. So if we table it, we could probably still get them to price the work, but it wouldn't be at the held value from what you're seeing now.
You said that before.
Mhm.
So it only gets more expensive.
But
It only gets more expensive.
I don't think it's more
No,
expensive.
it only gets more expensive.
It
We don't
really
make
does.
it.
It all like-
Simply put, it only
Yes.
gets more expensive.
Yes.
Can not maybe hold it that long for tonight? Can we go to the other two?
Yes.
To see what they are?
Yeah,
And then come
absolutely.
back with-
Absolutely. So alternate number 3 applies only to Stanton. It is the cost to replace the chain link fence that is currently around the tennis court. It's kind of the fabric or the wire mesh fabric that's on the tennis court is a little raggedy. It's not. I was trying to be as kind as I could to the existing fence, but it is.
Yeah, I don't think it's feeling
Yeah,
to be heard.
yeah.
But my question, because you're saying it's around the tennis courts, the tennis courts are not unique just to Stanton. They're on the Stanton property.
Right.
My question is, who pays for the tennis courts? The city or the school?
Well, in this case, it would be the city. And I think in any case, it would be
I
the
would say
city.
this is paid by Norwich Public Works or.
Oh,
That's the codes budgeted company.
oh.
For the Norwich Public School.
I would be unable to answer that question.
Do we know?
I don't think it's cool.
I don't think it's.
I don't think it's a tennis program
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I'm aware of.
Wow, that would appeal to
We
taxpayers.
would just use the city.
But it is on the ground, so it would be. I think it's, I mean,
Les Johnson.
I think it's a legitimate
The-
reimbursement ask.
I think the main reason that
Probably
this,
not
that this was added to the project is that at the end of the project, you're gonna have a brand new school, brand new landscaping improvements, a brand new parking lot, and then you'll have this old fence that's around.
That's not really what
not
I'm asking, because I'm saying that
It is.
if it's a city maintained facility.
Right.
And that could go in, like, we have to do capital improvement in the for city-owned property,
Right.
okay, versus the school building.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm saying is it, which pot, which bucket does it come in?
I think the equalizer to either scenario is gonna be that if it's included by the project, you're gonna get 80% reimbursement on it, whereas if it's expended on the city budget, you're gonna pay full price.
Public Works maintains our school already. Matt Brown done it.
One person, please, at a time.
He said
Thank
that
you.
Brown
Yes,
said-
Matt, just to be.
It was.
Yeah, Matt, you awake?
Yes, I am. So when it comes to the tennis court, I've never put any money in to maintain that. I do know during the last election, the lights were off in that, and I had called Roy Predmore from the city to have those turned on so the parking lot would be lit. I kind of think it's like a joint venture. It's on our property, but the city maintains it.
Oh, there you go.
That is reimbursable.
And
Yeah.
everyone knows that NFA uses those the tennis courts too, right?
No,
Yes,
that's all.
yes,
Do they
they do,
do? I didn't know.
they do,
Why don't they use the ones? up
they
on
do,
them?
every court,
They're all being used.
they're all being used.
There's only
I think
four
they had
courts
that
there,
for
not
the
the city.
Yeah, so do we vote?
Yeah.
We-
Oh, yeah, because they
Yes,
use
Peter.
so much
Just,
tax.
hi, folks, hang on.
Just
Just
to
be
be
there.
Police knowledge is tech, that's correct.
Just for clarity, this was originally proposed as to repair, and now we're gonna fully replace it. Is that
Well,
correct?
they're all,
Yeah, yeah.
they're shot all the way around.
So this was identified by our landscape architect.
Mhm.
It was purely from the standpoint was offered by Mike.
Aesthetics.
You're gonna have a beautiful
No,
site
no,
when
no.
driving, you have to drive, this is front and center as you drive in.
No.
The question, they are not replacing the standards, they are simply replacing the fabric on the
Yeah.
The post will stay.
post
So
stay.
fabric gets
The
replaced.
fabric gets
And then
replaced.
it's the north of the gate. Sure.
There's not a proper bottom rail on the fence, so that we're adding a proper bottom rail to the fence. It's brand new wire mesh fabric. I think in the big, well,
You're gonna replace the thing. And it has to reimburse.
Can I just add something to the conversation? So if you replace it now as part of this alternate, you'll get your reimbursement on. If you were to leave it for after the project, you may not get reimbursement. So it's something that the main feature when you first drive into the school, it's almost.
And that's.
you
not even-
likely wouldn't get reimbursement. Oh,
That's right, that's not even what. You continue to look up, add costs to Stanton School, okay, that's why I said go, that's a Stanton School. Only cost, you gotta. You're
Yeah.
continuing that, I'm looking at dollars and cents, like, on these ad alternates. What is what's gonna be let's say we take off 4. What does that do to Stanton School putting the adult to the budget to,
it increases it.
I understand that by how much?
Oh, by that amount.
No, I'm saying when you add them all up. Do we have?
Oh, I mean, if you add the 190 to the 40, you'll get
In the first,
230, then if you add, and don't forget, you already,
right, I said when we add, that's.
well, you already accepted an alternate
55.
as well.
55,000 there.
Yeah.
Thirty. 40. So.
roughly half a million.
290.
Yeah.
And around 290.
And you gotta take into account the alternate for the roof screening, which you had previously accepted the night of the bid opening or GMP approval.
Okay. All right, I mean, considering the reimbursement and stuff,
It's cheaper
Yeah.
now.
I think it makes sense to do it, and particularly brand new building. Fix the damn fence.
80%.
need a second.
Yeah, I'll make the motion myself. I need a second.
So
Thank you, Peter. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, Greg,
Yes.
Sheila,
Yes.
Cindy, Peter,
yes.
Christine.
Yes.
Mark, yes, 6-0. All right. On add alternate 3, the tennis court.
All right, so.
Concrete curbing, much more interesting.
Yes, much more interesting. So this alternate changes all of the asphalt curb on the property and replaces, or no, it's just along, I'm sorry, entry roads and along parking spaces from asphalt to concrete. It's a durability thing. This is if a plow hits an asphalt curb, it's gonna potentially blow the curb apart and then it'll have to be repaired. Whereas concrete's a more durable material to be installed and should in theory last longer. This is just to try and,
Going and going.
Yeah, well, there's only 4. So, I mean, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
I mean, at length, yeah. So, opinions,
My only concern is you just said it's what, $500,000 more for the floor,
no, when you start adding it up, it's not it.
and you get reimbursed, and you get reimbursed 80%.
Right.
So who pays the 20%?
We do.
We.
No doubt.
I'm just saying.
But I'm not, I'm talking about, for me though, I'm more concerned with the budget overall, the 385 million. So so that's, that is a good. So I know, good.
Question I have is long-term replacement costs. One versus the other, leaving it and replacing the asphalt versus replacing the concrete. Long-term, which one?
it's gonna last longer.
I don't care about that replacement costs, whether it like, cause we don't like to budget for stuff like that.
Oh, if you don't like the budget for stuff like that, definitely take it. I mean, that's just what I'm gonna say. I mean, it's probably gonna be around the same delta, right? I mean, with all factors. So if you went with asphalt, you may replace it potentially 5 times in the same amount of time you may replace concrete.
For the concrete.
Or to
Yeah.
get left looking horrendous, that's what happened.
I mean, everyone's been to a shopping plaza, right? You go after winter, there's big chunks and the big mound of snow and then the chunks disappear and they never get put back. in
The
some
only thing I
cases.
worry about the concrete edging is if the skateboarders get in there and decide to use it to ride on, like they did at Norwich Tech, they chipped off a ton of it.
Yeah.
Horrendous.
Hmm.
They were, even with the skate park across the street.
Hi, this is Matt from the schools. I highly recommend concrete over asphalt.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Thank you,
I'm
Matt.
all for concrete. So.
You don't
said
want
5
granite
times.
curbing.
What's that?
You said for this asphalt, concrete less. You replace the asphalt 5 times.
Right.
I don't, it all depends. The biggest damaging factor to asphalt is someone hitting it with a plow or breaking off, because it's,
Yeah.
What's the place?
The length of it is high.
asphalt's typically not cast on top of the asphalt pavement, and then it's concrete is either formed and, precast concrete and buried or cast in place and it's below the asphalt, it's just a more durable installation.
Should we have concrete now or granite?
We have concrete at Kelly Middle School and it's held up quite nicely.
And that's 20 years coming up.
Yeah,
But since the renovation.
Yeah.
next year will be 20 years.
2009.
Yes.
Huh?
I'm just confused, but it says eliminate all bituminous
Well, that's
concrete. Isn't that supposed to be asphalt?
Bituminous is the same thing as asphalt.
Oh, I'm sorry, but having that concrete.
Bituminous concrete is.
Confusing me.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Yeah. Oh, you want to spend the money now?
Well, no, I don't. But this is what Seth said,
Yeah.
some of the other.
Yeah, but you know, certainly, I think, for what you get, I think,
Yeah.
and those are two decent sized sites, so.
Short, so. Not too.
So, can I get a motion to approve? Cindy,
I'll second.
to approve, ad for. Who's the second? Was it?
She made the second.
You made the second, Christine. Any other discussion on?
So, and I know we're only talking about Stanton and Greenville, but so my question will be, before we go out to bid on Uncas and Moriarty, these type of items is what we consider to be,
Probably on the same.
well, that they be part of the bid, like they're
The
gonna.
scope?
The scope.
No need to
whatever
do an
they
add-on,
put out.
because if
Not
we do
a-
it here,
I think,
we should include.
I think it would be prudent to keep them as alternates, because if we do need budget relief, we'll need to have some way to get that budget relief on the other projects, which was part of the reason that we kept them here. Right? Like, we wanted to make sure that the projects, so if we had turned all of these into base bid costs and the project had gone over budget, we would have nothing that would allow us to pare the budget back down.
No, but what I'm saying is, so you say concrete curbing is important for these two,
It will also
and it's a
be-
lot more durable, why would you not just put it in the bid in the scope of what's gonna go out on the next three?
Because I would still like the city to have the ability to make a decision not to do it if a budget constraint became an issue.
Gives you more choices in case of budget.
Did it cost us anything extra doing it this way?
About 290,000. Just now.
No, I mean, just separating it instead of putting. it in
No,
the base.
nope.
So it just gives us more flexibility.
It just gives you more flexibility, you know, more than likely, you know, as we go through the rest of the design effort at Uncas and Moriarty. Hopefully, we have some other creative value engineering solutions that come from the design team and construction teams to potentially give us budget flexibility on the back end when we go out to bid on those projects. And it may very well be, I would imagine if the digital sign gets eliminated from these two jobs, we wouldn't potentially entertain it at the next ones, right?
No, because you said that we have until September of 2027 because if we don't approve this tonight,
Yes,
we still have time. It may be more expensive, I get that.
yeah,
But we still have time to add it in, so why would you not put it as an adult?
it could very well be an ad alternate on those projects as well.
Yeah, we were just saying that this original design had the concrete and during budget reconciliation. That's when we moved.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
I remember that. That was already, it was in there as concrete and
And I know that
Budgets came up, you guys decided
so it shouldn't be talking.
make it in that.
No, that's not.
This is the kind of
Why
standard
you-
process. You go to, what Mike is saying is the standard for everybody at this end of the table. So you would go through those numbers and you need a comfort level. That you can be assured or at least comfortable that the bid is going to work with the market. So you're always looking for these types of things to add back in, because you get better value on an ad than you do on a fee jar. So we're always looking for these type of items where the building works, it functions just fine. You look for an add alt that will either make it more attractive with those roof screens or more durable.
Well, the roof screen was also I think you had indicated that it was gonna knock down noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we buy attraction, not only good aesthetically, but also noise wise, but Sheila, what you'll see is we're always, everyone at this end that's advising the committee is going to look for a way to make sure that there's some way. Because you just don't know what the market's going to do. And this is the perfect example.
Oh, I thought you would have.
All right, anyone have anything else? On the question, number 4. Greg?
Yes.
Sheila?
Yes,
Cindy? Peter? Yes. Christine?
Yes.
Myself, yes. And limit 4 is approved. All right, does anybody want to go back to 2, the digital sign? And just make a decision? Think about that.
Given that these values are still approximate.
Well, okay, they'll probably wait.
So this is a question for Downs. If we were to table this decision until next month because the values are still approximate, are the bidders that already submitted that were required to hold the alternate values open for 90 days going to hold their prices until we get the total value established?
We can reach back out to them and see if they can hold a number. Because I
Okay.
think we're beyond the 90 days, right, from when they initially submitted their bid. From March 18th through March 19th, I think it only took the bids.
You're right. Yeah, that's why we're making a decision tonight. So that's really what I'm asking. Because if we don't have if we don't have a total value, that's why I hit the agenda tonight.
Yeah, we can circle back with some and see if we can get them.
Okay.
It'll give you another 30.
I mean, the real decision here, and part of the reason that a decision would be helpful on this is because it's going to impact whether or not we get a response to, or Downs moves forward with the proposal request to put in the conduit for the sign, right? Because if this was accepted, we wouldn't need the proposal request for the conduit because you'd already got the whole sign. So, that was one of the thoughts behind it.
can we
That includes.
ask
Yes.
whoever reviewed what these digital signs and the spec and all of that, for what the approximate cost is for the model, make, whatever that was the being proposed. Is that a high quality? Is it middle of the road? Is it below end? I have no idea how much this stuff costs. And I have no idea like the computers and other printers. I know what I would pay, I know what one I would.
Is it the Chevy or the?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
These are pretty far up in the spectrum because you want the durability. And that's the cost on these starts pretty high. It goes up, not quite exponentially, but it goes up pretty quickly. And the problem that I personally have with speccing these things is that they don't, if you buy the cost that most people want to buy them, they don't have a good longevity. So when we spec these, we try to get pretty far up in the range. So not only is it a pretty robust piece to start with, but it has good factory support. And it's also easy to operate. You plug into a computer, you put in what you want to say, and the message goes out. So it's a fairly straightforward piece. My opinion doesn't matter here. I don't care for these outside of schools. I think that I just don't think that they work the way people think they're going to work unless you buy something in this quality. And I know that probably didn't help you, but the direct answer to your question is it's a very high quality sign. It's a commercial quality, continual operation type sign.
Okay. Follow-up question, because you said these are 2 different bidders. Does that mean you're 2 different companies?
That you won't know until you sign off to buy them. Because you have 2 separate contracts. They're spec the same. My hope would be that they could purchase from the same supplier. Because that way the uniformity of running them, but public city will allow us to pay bigger.
You have the same electrician on both projects, and I think that's where is that where these landed with the electrician or with the? Yeah, so more than likely, I don't see the vendor buying, and this is just purely a hunch, right? The guy's gonna buy out, if he's gonna buy signs, he's gonna buy them both from the same vendor, and it's gonna be the same model, or well, the same brand as to whatever was specified is what you're gonna get from the same guy. He's probably not gonna discover that the sign for Greenville is, I'm gonna go to supplier X versus Stanton because it's two, I'm gonna go to supplier Y. He's probably gonna order all three.
All right, so we're gonna let two go until next month.
I'm trying to do that.
I
would vote today and just do it. That's just me. If
Does anybody, well, somebody puts a motion on the table, we can do that, and,
but I won't force.
well,
I can tell you from experience, and I know I'm any contributor, but the signs that are up there now that you have to hold up.
Yeah.
and flip, I did that for many years at Stanton, and it's.
I did it at Huntington.
I was almost like beheaded and everything else, so.
You watch
I
out for the
was-
plow coming by.
Yeah, yes.
We have a volunteer at Moriarty and they're very good about
I
it.
just
We're
hope
very
that
lucky to
we
have that volunteer.
It's a thing. I've seen this.
That's not even, that's, my concern is quality, I think we tried it. It's just that I remember that when new telephone system was purchased.
Oh.
See that side that said all.
let me tell you something. Every telephone system upgrade I've ever had anything to do with was a horror show, so.
No, in the public schools, everything that happened,
Required.
everything that happened in the towns
Oh,
happened,
thank you.
and that's, that's not.
No.
Yes. It's happened, so.
You know that for your.
That's why I'm asking the questions, because everybody said it was great technology until it got installed.
Something like that. Was like the smart words, that's changed tremendously over time, there's no multiple issues.
I'll tell you, we just got done, putting new ones in down at Pfizer, and my group had that kind of fun, so it's, it ain't cheap and, it's a pain on there, but
We still want it.
yeah, they look nice, you can put nice graphics on them and stuff, and 4th of July or whatever you got going on, Veterans Day, what.
I'm wondering if the representatives from the school would like them, if the superintendent.
Hey, Matt, you want these things?
I mean, I think they would be nice. I'm just worried about, technology moving so quickly that they become obsolete and it's, expensive to replace or repair.
Well, that's why you get good ones.
Laser disc collection.
Yeah. I mean, I would like it. That's just me, one person.
Just, how are we doing the phone systems? Is that, because we have.
That's part of it.
Is that part of FFE?
No, phones, we figured we'd get.
Yeah, we don't need to.
We'll have to decide.
No, it's part of the FF&E package. It'll be specified.
I make a motion for whatever that's set.
To add alternate number.
Adams to Greg Galatz motion.
Is there a second?
Awesome.
Second by Sheila. Any other discussion? By the committee.
So my comment would be is that I think this is something that could be put on. It's a $500,000 item by the time you get done with all four schools, maybe $750 if you want to do the other school. And it is something where we could put the infrastructure in which this is much lower cost, very minimal, because just the amount of wire and you put some, well, no, conduit. Conduit is, I know, but it's not an exceptional amount of money. I just think we can hold off on doing this for quite a while.
Honestly, I'm of the opinion that if we don't do it now, we're not gonna do it. So that's what's gonna happen. But so if it's worthwhile doing, we do it. If not, so that's everybody's.
6 signs.
So that's everybody's, whatever opinion you might have. Anyone else?
Did Peter vote in favor or opposition?
We didn't vote.
We didn't vote yet.
And we got.
We're in discussion. So anyone else with anything to say about it? It's getting late.
We would want one in each school.
I know, I'm sure. Stanton, don't forget, is the largest cost of any of these, because it's got the longest run by far.
Is Stanton the only teachers maybe two?
Teachers would be-
Uncas is probably gonna.
Moriarty might be a little different because it's on Canterbury Turnpike.
Yeah, but that would still probably be, I think Greenville's the only one that would end up being one side.
Yeah. probably.
Maybe
Where you put it on.
depending on which.
Yeah, so then.
Drive us to school anyway.
So that gets you.
Yeah, but you need a message.
All right. All right, so let's say the committee, Greg,
Yes.
Sheila,
Yes,
Cindy, Peter,
No,
Christine.
It's a tough one.
It is. I think
It is, it's really a tough one, because I know the headaches for that. I'm hoping times have changed, but we're putting it off till next month. That's what we're.
no.
Oh, this is only.
Yeah.
No, I say no.
So now it's to me, yeah.
time, right?
Yeah,
If it's saying no, it's not. Forever.
yes, it's not forever, but I am not gonna, I'm gonna vote yes. So 4-2. I think it's worthwhile doing, and to be honest with you, I don't believe we'll do it if it comes up later. And, we expose ourselves to potential higher costs. So that alternate 2 is approved, 4-2. I think that's it, right?
No,
Yeah, more.
Oh, well, I think
We
Huh?
could probably discontinue the pursuit of PR4. PR4 was the cost for just the conduit,
Oh, okay, all right.
because if we're installing the whole sign, we don't need that
Yeah.
cost.
All right, discussion. School construction website creation.
So if you go to the flash drive, Mark, there's a small quick presentation on there. Construction website.
Oh, my glasses back on.
All right. So, I think the website that currently exists, and just so that everyone knows, and for those that don't know, there is a school construction website currently that's hosted by the Norwich Public Schools. If you go to their website, this is what it is when you get there. This would be the top of the page. This would be the second portion of the page, right? So what we tried to do was just indicate what's on there currently, some of the pitfalls that we identified with current website. There is some outdated information. If you go, the standing construction document estimate is still shown to the community, the Greenville construction document estimate, the educational specifications for Uncas and Moriarty just got added. The Stanton elementary presentation boards that are currently in the lobby are on there. This was,
There's some old stuff.
this looks like a presentation from
That's pre-rec.
2022 or some kind of, it looks like a city council presentation that someone made.
So the website is one thing.
But,
The website is wanting for improvement, or we need a new one?
well, I think what we have could work. I mean, it all depends on what message the city and Norwich Public Schools are trying to get out. I know, through these meetings, there have been some discussion about getting a better, more robust message out to the community. I know Christine had some thoughts about that, as well as some of the other members. One thing that we can say is that it's missing some of the newer documents, the renderings, that type of stuff that may be more representative
Who's
of.
been charged with doing this?
That's my next one.
As far as I can tell, this gets updated by the Norwich Public Schools. I don't, it could be Elisa Brooks, but it's someone from, yeah. So, one thing that we noticed too, the meeting minutes, there's kind of a,
You could link,
a
I would
gap.
tell you could link to the city website for that stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. And the purpose of this is not to take shots at what we have,
Yeah.
but rather just show you guys what's currently there.
Yes.
So Mark, if you go to the next slide. You know, and this is purely us taking shots in the dark. That's how the website could look, you know. I don't necessarily know that we need all of the information that we're showing here, like, you know, I would imagine that what we would give out to the community, the design plans would be well condensed, floor plans, renderings, not like an entire set of construction documents. Project costs would be whatever you guys wanted to give them. You know, there's renderings again, weekly photos, which I'll get into, you know, the groundbreaking info. So, you know, for any ceremony, maybe it says ceremonial events and, you know, for Stanton and Greenville, well, for Stanton, we would have pictures. For Greenville, we may have when it's gonna be and then pictures.
Honestly, we incorporate your monthly report into it or something like that, and about cover most of the stuff there. I think under each one.
Pictures and renderings and just a status.
Yeah, so.
No further.
So this
I don't
was,
think they need schematics. I think just the renderings.
Yeah.
this was more just to prompt a conversation. We don't need to make any decisions tonight. This was just more of an informational thing that we put together, hearing the concern from, you know, the committee that they wanted a more robust package going out to everyone. If you, you know, the other thing too was that, you know, hearing, I don't know where this comes from, right? It's really a joint program between the city and Norwich Public Schools, so I want to know if there's a desire from either side to be the one that hosts it, or, you know, if it should be the city, and I wanted to touch base with you guys first before we started doing anything with what we have. You know, and again, this was when we looked at this, our team, we just figured you could have a general section and then one for each school so that you could see, you know, more or less what's going on. So then if you go to the next page, another thing that we were proposing was having a slide like this for every week so that the community could see what's actually being built on site and see the progress of the building being built. Potentially, if a webcam or a time lapse gets added to each project, we could show a video feed of that eventually. But, you know, again, this was just, you know, wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that this exists and to see if this is a desired format moving forward. If you guys want it adjusted so that it's on the city webpage and something that city IT is maintaining and managing versus Norwich Public Schools, or, you know.
There should be a link on the city website, but I don't, let the schools
Okay.
manage the webpage, but you should have something on the city website.
Yeah, link to
That
it.
says, you know, if you want to see the progress and update,
Yeah.
whatever, you click the link and it takes you there.
Yeah. Like you said,
And the city website's getting ready to get updated very shortly.
Oh, nice.
He announced it last night.
Oh, okay, great.
So can we put a pin in this for now until we see what the upgrade on the city website is to see
Oh,
whether some of the recommendations that people requested are part of the new website. I'm not trying to move this, I'm trying to say it may give us a sense of I'm a KISS kind of person, keep it simple.
Yeah, stupid.
This is way too complicated. So,
Yeah, I was just,
no, I just,
Yeah.
so I'm saying that it's something that we've asked on the city sign, for the city website to be.
well, I mean, if the Norwich Public Schools are gonna end up being the one that hosts the main webpage, all that we would need to integrate into the city webpage would be a linking. Oh,
I'm saying when we get to view what the new upgrade looks like. I understand it's just gonna be a link.
we gotta see what the city website looks like and get an idea. of-
Get an idea of what we may want to know with public schools, what we may want this to look like, is what I'm saying.
oh,
On the Norwich Public.
okay.
Let's have a link. on-
So maybe they would match the format of the school website to the city website or something like that.
Or at least it would be simpler to navigate. City side is not, the reason they're upgrading it, it's not easy to navigate. Their
Oh.
system is not easy to navigate.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. I did.
Friendly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We
Okay.
can, hey, everybody, we can do a link on our Norwich Public School page, and we can also pin it to our Facebook page as well.
So right now, as you say, let's postpone the conversation.
Okay.
We don't.
Yeah, it was just a discussion to show you what we had.
Yeah.
But this is
Right.
great, something
Yeah.
like that.
I like the concept of.
Yep.
Yeah, I like this.
And
That,
I just need the other 99 details as to exactly what you want.
I will work on it, give me 1 month.
Still people. Late enough.
Motion to, motion,
Consent agenda.
motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yep. Is there a second? Second by Cindy. All in favor, Greg,
Yes.
Sheila,
Yes.
Cindy, Peter, Christine,
Yes.
and myself, yeah.
That's in the future, when you do things.
Yeah. So, Bob.
Yeah.
RFP, the project manager for.
I
You ready to go? You sent it out to everybody.
I sent it to everybody. Peter sent me back to, yeah, I send that every time.
I wasn't even watching for it.
I did open.
I saw it, I
You
think.
said it.
I can't hold you here.
No, I didn't know it was being sent, so.
Well, you want me to send you an email to tell you?
Yes.
I'm not trying to be smart at you, but
Yeah.
I can only do so much, you know?
I have so many.
I did read it.
Okay. Peter sent me edits. I made the edits. It's ready to go pending your.
Oh, I didn't hear.
So, yeah, so all we want to do is,
It's basically a cut and paste of the last two
Yeah.
ones
Yeah.
with updated info as price, what the projects are. And the only thing I haven't put in there is dates. And I'll talk with Mark about the dates. You know, obviously the date it'll either be tomorrow or Monday. It'll get advertised on the state site. We'll see, you know, however long.
so could I get a motion to approve, putting the RFP out?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Christine. All in favor, unless it's discussion?
With
Right.
dates to be determined.
With dates.
Right, and I'll work with Mark to figure out what dates make sense.
Because also we're gonna have to do the ratings and all that.
Right,
stuff.
right.
Right.
So,
It's gonna
Craig?
be like everything.
Yes.
Sheila.
Yes.
Cindy, Peter,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
myself, yes, 6-0.
All right, Kate, since,
I'll talk to you.
all right, can I bring up one more thing?
Sure.
So we've gotten a couple of, as Downs and Mike and myself know, we've had an issue with a neighbor in Greenville, right? Okay, that got sent like to a zillion people. I got forwarded a voicemail today from Jackie, from the guy across the street, from the Boswell Avenue entrance to Greenville, saying the trucks are, you know, created a pothole in his driveway. That went, here's what I would like to say, is I think we need one central person to take, look, this is a couple year project. There's gonna be complaints, there's gonna be damages, there's gonna be, and the reason that I get involved in a lot of these is because I'm the insurance manager for the city too. So my recommendation is it comes into the city to one, like maybe to Mike or myself. We go to the different people in the city who need to answer and then go back so that the resident or the complainer or whatever, the person who put in, you know, whatever, isn't getting bombarded by 5 different answers.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like, you know, if.
You want a POC?
Yeah, that's exactly what that's it.
All right,
You know, and this is not to cut you guys out, I mean, you'll know, you know, but I don't think you knew about the guy with the.
I didn't hear about the driveway till.
Yeah. Right,
Yes,
but you know, I mean, and the neighbor in Greenville blew up into a bigger thing
Yeah.
because she's got pigs on her property, so the zoning
Your property?
pigs.
Farm
She didn't,
Livestock.
It's on Bob the lot.
was exposed to the.
Anyways, now with all the trees, anyways, but that's the whole point, is that went up into zoning and you up into here. You know, the question got asked, did we cut more trees down than we were supposed to, and all, you know, and there's an email chain that's about 5 feet long,
Right.
okay? So what I'm trying to do is, you know, get an answer, one consolidated answer to go back to the.
Just to figure out that basically we were pretty much fine.
Yeah, we are fine, and that, you know, and I can't, you know, the guy with so I need to talk to Downs.
All right, in this scenario, I know what we did,
And that's why I'm bringing it up at the meeting, so.
while we're in construction phase. All right. Should we be having Downs handle this? For the first two?
I think that's a great. I think that's absolutely.
Or, yeah. I'll give it good, so you were my backup.
Get right to my.
I mean, cause you know, we did the good neighbor meeting.
So-
We were pitching down, you know, for Greenville and Sanders, the PLC basically.
So here's how it should go. The complaint should get funneled to someone at the city, someone at the city should. Should forward the complaints to us, and then we can navigate through them. Ultimately, what I don't think either Downs or CSG should be doing is reaching out directly with the resident of the city.
And that's exactly what I was gonna say. I don't think when a resident comes, you know, because they look at it as a city project,
Years of-
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Hmm?
It's on-
We're sending to Peter, can we give Peter phone number? They probably have it. No, but that's the issue, right?
I'm a non-voting member.
Who do you want to be
That's a good question.
communicating the final answer to the city resident?
So can I, since this is under John Solomon's, shouldn't we ask him who he wants this
That's a
designated?
valid point.
All right, and I can do that tomorrow.
Yeah, no, we'll ask John, see if he wants to handle.
I'll go,
That makes sense.
So can I make a motion that the chairman will reach out to the city manager for
Well,
him?
Bob can reach out to the city manager.
Look, not 90% of what comes in gets funneled across my desk because no one else, they don't know where else to send it.
Okay, so
I will talk
I
with
make
you.
a motion to say that the city manager will designate, we will accept the city manager as designated person, point of contact.
So that if Jackie gets a call, or Public Works gets a call, or Deanna gets a call, they know where to go. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And then that, and there's the second part of
Mike,
it.
where will you be tomorrow for a phone call?
The second part of it is so then who does that point of contact then include from? Is it?
Generally, what's been happening
Don't
is
decide.
they get the city people, whoever has to handle the issue. In this case, you know, there's a planning and neighborhood services issue. And those people get involved in, as well as Downs, because the survey was an issue. The whole 9 yards. So we went through the whole rigmarole, emails are flying back and forth, trying to get this thing straightened out. So then zoning got involved because there was a violation too. And yeah,
No, all I'm trying to say is that the city manager is going to designate an
a
individual.
contact.
That individual is going to contact who? Down.
Whoever I need to.
Depends on the problem.
So it could.
I'm gonna guess that John's gonna say he wants me to handle it. I'm just.
Right.
So when it comes in, I'm the one who knows if I need to talk to Deanna or Brian Long or CSG or Downs or whoever. And get the answer, and then I can get the answer when everybody's satisfied, then I can respond back to the residents.
So then I don't have to have a second part. for that.
Well, then, the second part of for him to then, advise the person that was designated to then do that.
Well, whoever the John does it, I'm guessing,
Yeah,
maybe
you
John,
guess,
maybe John will say, he doesn't want me to do it. I don't know, you know,
But if.
That person would then still have to work with you to get a hold of them. Correct?
Well, again, Mike doesn't know everybody in the city and what they do and who to contact. Who does? Right.
So we're just trying to make sure that the promotion.
Well, I don't know, do you really need a motion, or you just wanna give me?
No, you don't.
Just tell me to go talk to John, and I will email you all, give you John's
We're
answer.
not gonna.
I'm 99% sure.
Of course
it's
they
gonna
can't.
be.
There's no cost involved.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, yeah.
all right,
And we're using.
okay, do I need to talk to Don before we leave tonight? Do I need a pothole?
It should go to Don. He's the CEO.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right.
motion to adjourn.
Hang on. So we did the project, okay, anything else? Did that, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Consent agenda.
We did. We did.
That is done.
You were sick.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Greg, yes.
Sheila? Binder? Peter? Myself, yes, thank you everybody for coming.